There are two factors which grew up in the late 19th century which condition exactly how this goes on. The first one was actually nothing to do with education at all. It was a man, Windsor Taylor, a very successful engineering company. His father had a big company. They were steel makers, they were tool makers and whatever. And Windsor Taylor went to university, got a high degree, and then his father said, you don't know anything until you start working in the factory. So he started going back into the factory, and he saw something which fascinated and terrified him. He saw that the average American factory in the 1870s, 1880s was full of craftsmen who enjoyed doing what they were doing. Because they enjoyed what they were doing, they actually took time out over it. Windsor Taylor said, if they stopped enjoying what they're doing and worked to a book of rules, we would increase productivity twofold, threefold, fourfold. And he introduced the idea of what's called scientific management, the scientific management of work, which is you don't leave the ordinary person to think through what they're doing, you just make them conditioned to follow rules and regulations. If you get the rules and regulations right, then suddenly you can produce everything very quickly, very efficiently. That merged with the second topic, which is known as behaviorism. It was the first of the scientific studies that came out of psychology as to why people do things, but they found studying why people do things too complicated because humans are very complicated. So they started studying animals. And they started studying animals as if animals' brains worked in exactly the same way as human brains. Well, you know, that really is a pretty stupid assumption to make, but their first assumption was you can persuade people to do things if you have a reward or a punishment. So you set up a system which is based on rewards and punishments. It's called extrinsic motivation. It's not what you want to do yourself, it's what somebody else has told you to do. Now that's called behaviorism. And that flourished in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. Put those two things together and people said, no, we have a scientific model of learning based on rewards and punishments. If you get enough passes in an exam, you do brilliantly, you get a good job.